All right. Shut up. What was the homework? Player wins. Oh, we gotta play the sad music now. I didn't get any sad music. I didn't download sad music. Anybody have good sad music? Will it fit on Slack really quick? You just throw it up in the Slack channel. You made your own music. All right. Player wins. Play the winning music for 5 seconds, then go back to the cave and have the player finish the movement they were currently doing and continue walking through the cave. If the player loses, play the sad music and show a game over screen, yada, yada. Okay, so let's handle that part first. Then we'll handle the hard part. Jerry, put it up there. Where's my music? It might even beat him to it, right? Final Fantasy, end game, or game over. Okay. Very long. I love this. That wasn't all that interesting, actually. All right. This is my favorite game. Oh, so you're giving it to me in YouTube? All right. Oh, it's terrible. It's no, it's bad. It's bad is what it is. It's it's bad. No, here I got this will be perfect, probably. Yeah, isn't that what I wanted? Accept all cookies. Download. I got it as an MP3. MP3 to Wave. Select file. Yeah, I think you can use MP3s. I'm pretty sure, right? It takes like a second. Convert. My conversion credits have exceeded. All right, you said MP3 works? You said MP3 works in the game? Okay, we'll just do that then. It's just wildfire, right? Well, Wave is uncompressed. Well, it helps you with compatibility. You're right. You're getting at if you go MP3 to Wave, MP3 is already compressed, so it's lossy. Now you're going back to Wave, so you're uncompressing an already compressed, which is lost data. So now it's just a larger file size MP3 that might be more playable on certain things, but you haven't gained back audio bits. All right, so we'll drag this guy in and we'll just call this game over. Oh, Ninja. All right, so that's game over .mp3, right? And then so a couple things we can try here. We can have, you can try to get the component for the audio player. So if I go into my jukebox, for example, let me get to the deathmatch scene, whatever. Scenes, fight scene. So I can take the here's the winner jukebox. Where's my other jukebox? Oh, here's the fighting jukebox. All right, so you could go ahead and grab the audio source component off a playing jukebox, just like you grab a rigid body. and then you can set that guy's audio clip equal to the thing you want. Or if you want to do it mostly visual, you can just create multiple jukeboxes, one with winning music, one with losing music, right? So I'll go ahead and just I'll duplicate this guy. We'll call this guy the loser jukebox. And we will call his music. Yes. Oh. How do I get it off? This is Final Fantasy game over music. I don't know if it's from a later, newer Final Fantasy or an older Final Fantasy, but yeah. Yeah, but whatever. So I have a loser jukebox that has the game over sound. I have a winner jukebox that has the victory sound. Both of those guys currently are inactive. All right. And then we have our fighting jukebox, which is currently active. So what we want to do is we want to have our referee become aware. He's already aware of the fighting jukebox. He's already aware of the winners, and I need to make him aware of the loser jukebox so we can have the right thing start playing. So we'll go into our referee dealio flippy thingamajiggy here. And we'll have our loser jukebox. All right, so the referee will now have access to that. So let's go and connect that up so we don't forget. All right, so now he's hoping for a loser jukebox. All right, there we go. So when the fight is over, we want to set fighter jukebox inactive, which I think we're already doing, right? Then we're going to set either winner or loser jukebox active, depending on who won the fight. So go back in here. So we have a play winner music. Let's go ahead and have a play loser music just for the. So we'll set the fight jukebox off. We'll set the loser jukebox to true. All right, then we go into deathmatch. We're going to use our instance of our referee mono behavior to turn these guys on. So right now, player victory music. If the current attacker was dude one game object, that means the player won. Otherwise, the bad guy must have won. So we'll say play loser music. Okay. And I don't remember. Our guys currently swinging for the hills. What's inhabitant got him? Okay, yeah. So our guys are currently very squishy and they hit really hard. So let's test this real quick and make sure we get some bad guy music going sometimes. Okay, so the right music played there. We're going to give it some maximum 3 tries before we just assume it works. All right, there we go. All right. So now what we want to have is we want to have like a game over scene. Let's just do that real quick because that's another easy piece, right? Hard part of this assignment was this was easy-ish, right? game over scene, depending on how much time you spent to make it look good or whatever. Easy. But going back to the map and continuing on where you left off, that's the more complicated. You got to think about it, that side of things. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and, we could just do the thing where we say, oh, well, why don't we just hide a bunch of stuff and then everything else pop up, for game over on this scene, as opposed to having a brand new scene that has game over on it. I'm going to go ahead and just do the brand new scene for game over, even though we're probably not going to get far enough into this game to utilize this differently. But you might have different ways for your game to be over, right? You might lose in a fight here. Maybe if we fast forward weeks of more development on our game, there might be other ways for you to lose and die that aren't part of a fight scene, right? Yeah, you step on a trap and legs shatter off, and then we get the guillotine, whatever. Well, you don't do it in that order. You gotta things got so dark so quick, and it's only Monday. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a game over scene. So we're gonna create a scene, and we'll call this guy game over. And we're going to make this incredibly high definition. So we're going to just throw a well, there's my Text Mesh Pro. So we'll throw this guy in here. It'll just be game over. Oh, there's my text. All right, so there's game over. Now I need to this guy rotated funny compared to oh, so it's already going to be in the back when we run it. Yeah, there's the game over. I got it. So if I want it to show up in a different place, that's fine. But we're going to call this good enough. So then I'm going to go ahead and actually we can just do it off this canvas. I'm going to go into my music, my audio, and we'll just throw the game over music in here. So it's playing the game over music. You can hang it off any game object you want. So I just hung it up. I got to still tell it to, but yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this game over screen when there's a loss. We might decide we want to have a little delay where maybe the guy jumps up and down for 5 seconds and then goes to game over, or we bring that guy over to the game over screen and he's still jumping up and down. We're not going to spend very much time on this. All right. So let's go back into referee. Does this guy already have access to the scene manager? Was it using Unity Engine dot scene management? And then we'll maybe say well, this will be a good one. We're going to do an I enumerator. Show game over scene. We'll go ahead and steal this little delay thingy here. And maybe we'll set this at 2 seconds. And then we want to say, what is it? Scene manager dot show scene, load scene. And the name of my scene was game over something other. Game over. That dude. All right. So now what we'll do is when we play the loser music, we'll go ahead and set the right jukeboxes on and off. Then I'm going to go ahead and just say start coroutine. And the coroutine we're going to start is the show game over scene. What does this guy take as an argument? Is it string? Is that what it takes? Okay. Where's how do I oh, so you don't give it a string, you just call the function for start coroutine. Yep, just like that. Okie dokie. So we'll play loser music. It'll turn on and off the right jukeboxes. We'll start the coroutine for show game over scene. I just have a built-in 2-second delay, and then we'll load that scene. Is what currently happens. The game over scene, it just says game over and plays this music in the background. Okay, so we'll go back to dungeon. I was the villain. Seconds. It's been more than 2 seconds that I was there not saving done over on this side? Oh yeah. See, I was testing you. And all of you failed except her. All right, so this is under settings, build settings. Find it. Is it general? No, when you go to build settings, file build settings. Oh, it's actually under there. Oh, there it is. And there's our fight scene. So now we got to throw our game over scene in there. So now it should be happy. Let's watch. It's going to take us 10 tries to lose a fight again. Call that good. We could have played the game of making sure the music was synced. So when it goes to the game over thing, it doesn't start over, but we're going to call that good on that side. Okay, so we gracefully lose and go to a game over. That's the end of our game. So now the flip side is if we win after some number of seconds, or us dancing, whatever, we want to go ahead and transition back to our this kind of main starting point. We were we started going north, we got into a fight, we win this fight. Now what we should probably do is we should be back in this scene, a duplicate scene of this, where we're positioned in the middle. This is a reasonable approach to it. We're positioned in the middle, but we are now in the new room, the one we were heading towards. Okay. So we wanted to go ahead and complete. So the idea would be if I, where's the player? Oh, is it, or is it, oh, it's the monster triggers. So right now my chance to get into a fight is 100%. I'm going to go ahead and just change it to a 0. Run this again. So assuming we head north here and assuming we've won our fight, we effectively want to end up in this room here, probably either already standing at the center, or have them go ahead and finish walking into the room. I think the finish walking into the room might actually be easier because we already have it set up for that. So when we start moving, so let's go to our, what is it, the player controller. So the guy that's in charge of us moving forward or back. Go back into that. And that is this guy. All right. So this is on our trigger. Let's see where we do our. All right, so this gets us moving. Where do we determine if we get into a fight? So on trigger exit, we're asking, are we a, so that gets set currently when we exit our door. So the question is do we go ahead? You know what, maybe we just let it naturally, let it finish the scene. Because before we stopped it, so if I, so where's our chance? Oh, we have that attached to our triggers, right? Monster trigger. Okay, this is a script. This is our monster trigger script. So really what we want to do is come back here and have those scripts disabled for or have our monster triggers turned off for a moment. So maybe what we do, are these guys accessible somewhere? Well, we'll just do it in player controller. Because right now what happens is in monster trigger, this guy, we just have an on trigger enter and we ask, are the fights currently enabled? I think we should, you know, and this is a local variable, enable fight set to true. If we do get into a fight, we are oh, that's when we load our scene. All right, we are going to end up coming back to this room though. I was going to say we want to keep this scene alive, which I think there's a way of doing it. I think there's a way of not letting the old scene die when the new scene loads, but we're going to assume that we can't do that. So we're going to have to load this scene and have it pick up where it left off. So that means when we load the scene, we need to know where we should have been going and where do we set that. In our player controller, when we are heading, because this is the guy that gets set up, where did I just come from, all that stuff. So on trigger exit, and this gets set on our actual exits when we make it to the door. So right now we're not actually making it to the door. What's happening is we're on our way to the door. We get into our monster trigger, we get into a fight. What we need to do is effectively have this stuff set up correctly as soon as we start heading in a certain direction, so that if we load the scene again, it finishes off that movement. So right now on our trigger exit, when we finish going through a door, we're going ahead and we're asking which door did we hit. And based on which door did we hit, we're setting our where did I come from thing. So if we hit north exit, we're going to say we came from the north, so on and so forth. All right. So what we really need to do is we need to set these things up. We actually could just remove this on trigger exit thing, except we use it for loading the scene, the next scene. But we can move all this logic into our movement on our player controller. So if we currently have a room to the north And we're going to take the exit to the north, which actually then moves us into that next room right behind the scenes. We want to go ahead and also set master data. Where did I come from? We're going to say we came from, if we went through the north door, we're going to say we came from the north on the previous room. So it should show us coming in from the south. I think that's the way we have it set up. Similarly, if we're heading towards the west door, we'll say we came from the west. We're heading through the east door, we'll say we came from the east. We're heading through the south door, we came from the south. All right, so those values get set up there, which then allows us to say, well, we can take these things off. We no longer have to set those another time, right? Because we're setting them as soon as we start heading to the north, or as soon as we start heading to the west, we're triggering, we're marking down where we're coming from. Because now there's two different ways for us to get to that next room. Smoothly, without a fight, or we bump into a fight. In either case, what we're using this on trigger exit for right here is if we go through smoothly. This is the trigger associated with an exit. All right. So we were going through and we were setting all of these proper where did I come from things. We don't need that anymore though. Okay. But we do have is exiting set to false here. We also probably want to go ahead and set that to false when we first start moving, right? Because one way or another, we're exiting this room. It's either when we naturally go through the door and trigger this, which is going to load, which this guy will just load the new scene. That's all he does. When we exit the door, we're supposed to be exiting, we load the new scene. Otherwise, we set is exiting to true to reset. That's us coming into the room, right? So we either get out of this room by going through the door, which loads the next scene, or we'll get out of this room by getting to a fight and winning the fight. In either case, we need to make sure those variables get set. So we can go ahead and do that right here. Is exiting is equal to false. But is actually going to break us on the way out, right? It will up here. Let's update exits. Here's where we're exiting. So if we're currently exiting, we're going to dump them out of the room. We need to get that set to false, which we don't necessarily want to do right away. So I think we need to do this. We're going to go ahead and leave that in here. That way we are allowed to get into this code here. But then we're also going to go into our referee. And so this is the show game over scene. Where's our show? Oh, we don't actually have a show, whatever. So let's go ahead and build another one of these. Show dungeon scene. Before we do anything, we'll go ahead and set is exiting to false. That way, when he comes into the next room, he is allowed to clear the exit without exiting again, I guess. Then we'll go ahead and load our scene, and the scene we're going back to is called what? Dungeon room. And then we'll also go ahead and we'll wait 2 seconds here too. We can always mess around and say, well, that's not enough or that's too much of listening to the music, but we'll know that we're winning, we're jumping up and down, playing the winning music. Then we'll go back to the dungeon and we should finish coming into the room where we came from. And the way we accomplish this is just setting up the situation such that we had naturally exited the room, setting all the correct variables for where we were coming from, and allowing us to just naturally come into that next room as if we had, without a fight, gone through the door. All right, I need to still call that though, right? We need to do show dungeon scene. So we need to start that coroutine, and that's inside of deathmatch. Here's our victory music. We're going to go ahead and say this dot. Oh, actually, we're already playing the winner music, so we can just do it from the other screen. So here's play winner music. So we'll go ahead and start a coroutine. And the coroutine we're going to start is, what is that thing called? Start show dungeon scene, like that. So that'll wait 2 seconds, then launch the dungeon scene. This will be a fresh dungeon scene, but we've already set up the player has already gone to the next room behind the scenes in our model. Our data already has that set. We've now turned off the trigger so he doesn't trigger our exit as he's entering the room. So it's just as if he had exited the previous room naturally, right? And we've already marked where we were coming from, so it can keep playing us into the dungeon where we came from. We might want to think about triggering monsters on our way into the next room, because I think right now I have it set at 0, so it won't be a problem. But there is a chance you could trigger a monster on your way into the next room, which would be, I don't know if we want that. Well, let's see this work first. All right, I think we should be good there. And right now we don't get into any fights, so let's make sure that we can still get through the door. All right, so we're still good there. Now let's turn our monster trigger stuff on. So we'll set our chance to getting into a fight back to 100. All right, hopefully we win. Oh. How many tries until we might have to augment our Okay, he is in that next room, but why didn't we see him walking in? This is kind of preferred, actually, based on what I just said is a problem. Because the problem is I was worried that if he was coming in from this side, he would potentially trigger another fight. But now we've jumped him past that. He's just in that next room, which is fine. But the question is, why didn't he walk into the room from here? Because I think that we, at the beginning of this room, so if we go to our dungeons, is it player controller that sets it up? No, dungeon setup sets up our initial dungeon. So yeah, here our player controller, upon start, we update the exits. So that's what this is doing. So we're getting the current room, sets the exits correctly. That's already happening. I want to see where we were pushing him into the room. So he rolls in, because I think that would have a smoother look. We see him, he just got into a fight, and then he just finishes entering the room rather than he's like zapped right to the middle. Although zapping him right to the middle does bypass our problem of having to turn off our potential for a fight again. Unless we just decide he can get in fights all over the place. But right now, actually, it would be problematic because if he did keep coming into that room and he kept getting in that first fight on the way into the room, he would keep potentially trying to get into that room over and over again until they could finally get to it, because we haven't updated the room he was coming from or the room he's going to in the model under the hood. So if he leaves the first room, gets into a fight, wins the fight, then he starts entering the second room, and we have not updated his room as if he's gone to another direction. Gets into another fight, then we load it again. He starts entering that room again. Finally, he can get past that. Okay. But he's only going to get past that if he doesn't get into a fight. Then he can continue on. So he can just get in like infinite loop fights in that first on his way into a room. I mean, this is just an incredibly dangerous dungeon, is what it comes down to. But what I want to know is why did we want to look at where we're positioning him. So we updated the exits. We figure out whether we're currently moving. We're going to reset his moving to false. Remember, that's the guy that we turn on when we hit one of the arrows, when we decide we're moving up or down or left or right or east, west, north, whatever. All right. So we'll currently say the player has not, or the human being has not told me that I'm moving. As long as where did I come from is not equal to a question mark. And I'm pretty sure we do set where did I come from down here now, whenever we go in a direction, right? Yeah, where did I come from? We set that appropriately. So that means it would not be equal to a question mark. It's set to a real thing. So if it was set to the north, we're going to set the game objects transform to the southern position and then shove them into the room. That looks like it should be all good. Might have misspelled that. Tough crowd today. This is a tough crowd today. All right. All right. I just want to make sure I'm getting into this on my next time through the room. Let's go ahead and guarantee player win fights. All right. Here's my player constructor. So after that, we're going to say this dot HP. Actually, we're going to say this dot armor class is equal to 1,000. All right. So actually, this is a good inheritance lesson. So when a player is being constructed, we first instantiate that player in terms of his parent. That's what that base says. So inside of inhabitant, we go ahead and roll all the dice for his hit points and his armor class and his damage, all that stuff, right? Okay. In fact, if we want, we can go ahead and set this stuff back the way we had it originally, right? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to artificially augment players, because this always gets called first. So the inhabitant constructor will build the instance of inhabitant where it'll set the hit points, the armor class, the damage, and then it finishes building the player right here, where we'll go ahead and set that player's armor class to 1,000, making him unhittable, right? And then we'll set his damage also equal to 1,000. Making him incredibly tough. Somebody remind me after class, there's a funny TikTok video I saw yesterday that I want to put up related to this. It's like this guy getting in it's when you didn't research your opponent or something, and he's fighting against, a guy who's just undefeated with, 80 wins by death, and like 2 by pregnancy, 1 by leprosy. You're like, what does this even mean? He hails from someplace you've never heard of. by way of planet XYZ. It's pretty funny. So somebody remind me, it's clean, but it's funny. All right. So I think it's clean. I'll have to double check that, but fair warning. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to ask the parent constructor to go ahead and make us normal, and then we're going to finish augmenting ourselves. We'll differentiate ourselves from a traditional inhabitant right there by making ourselves unhittable, and really we hit hard. We're throwing haymakers. All right, so this should get us into a position where the player always wins. All right, and what I'm trying to test here real quick is in the player controller, I want to make sure when we start this, we get into this code the second time. We can use the debugger and stuff to do it, but this will just be nice and quick. So we'll go ahead. Actually, we're not going to get into a fight right now. Don't we have the fight stuff turned off? Oh, we do get in a fight. Boom. Not dead yet? I must not have saved. Like, come on. Come on, kid. You got to step up. Yeah, it wasn't saved. We thought he was the chosen one. Boom. Oh, but he was coming in from the right location this time. I think we need to up his attack chance too. Well, we could just make the opponent's armor class just 0. Yeah, that would then, I mean, you're right. That would then change our we'd still have to differentiate between are we the player or the monster, because then we'll clear that 1000 AC. So what we'll just do is we'll go in and make our monsters arbitrarily weak. So after a monster is built in the image of an inhabitant, we'll then say this dot AC is equal to 0. And this dot HP is equal to 1. Yeah. You guys just sitting there frail, shaking. He's about to get cracked. All right. This is the most violent class I've ever had at Concordia. Well, you tell me, why is he coming in upside down? It's from what we did last time. Right. Yep. Remember the way we handled the allow it to rotate thing last time was we made the follow script follow the rotation as well. So if we go into our follow script here, we'll see that we did this should follow rotation thing there. So what we probably want to do is go ahead and turn that off after a fight is over. So inside of, we could just do it in deathmatch. If the current target is dead, we don't necessarily care anymore. Actually, we do care at that point. So there's our transform rotate. Then we can turn it back off right after that if we want. That way, in future movements, as he follows, he doesn't do that. But he should have already done it by this point. Okay, so now he's constantly getting in fights. I kind of like the reason he's coming into the room. Maybe one thing we can do is have just some sort of a global variable set inside of master data that turns off after he wins a fight, but turns on when he hits center. Right, we have two separate time periods here where this happens. Because I do have a center thing here, right? And he has a box collider. So, and the name of this thing is tag center. So what I can do here is inside of master data, I can say public static. I'm not going to type anymore. We'll just fix stuff. Say can get into fight. We'll start that off as true. Because initially he can get into a fight, right? Inside of our death match, as they are fighting, where do we start the fight? Right here. So as they're fighting, we start that coroutine. This guy then calls fight again. So after we get into a fight, we can say the very first time, it doesn't really matter. We'll say master data dot can get into a fight is set to false. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this at a different place. We're going to do this at the point where he originally gets into the fight. So that's inside the player controller. So player controller on trigger enter, we already have something for center. We're going to go ahead and say can get into a fight back to true here whenever we hit the center. Where's our chance of death thing here? Referee. Oh, we can do it right here, right before a fight. We could say can get into a fight equals false. So right before the initial fight starts, we'll turn off the ability to get into a fight. And then we need to just update our code for if we're in a fight, the only way we can get to it is if we're allowed to be into a fight. So wherever that was. But so no homework for Wednesday. We'll pick up from here. Remember, next week's finals week, right? Okay, so we have an official meeting time for our exam. I don't remember when it is. We can look it up, but as usual, I'm going to put the exam up probably by Monday morning, probably Sunday night, and you just have to take it sometime before end of day on Friday. But you have to do it all in one sitting. But I'll guarantee I'll be available live during your normal the test taking time if you want to take it during a time when you can ask questions or something. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. Two more classes before the final. Oh no, three, maximum of 3 assignments. Probably. Well, I could. Maybe that's the final exam. Maximum of 1 more assignment.
So wait, why are they? So